All right. Good afternoon, guys, on the East Coast. Good afternoon, also on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Choi, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'm super excited about our show today. If you had a chance to take a look at our promo, we do have a terrific guest on tap. So give me one moment while I introduce them. The guests that we have, they need no introduction. They were the co-director of the iconic film, The Blair Witch Project. They've also uh, uh, directed other films such as Lovely Molly, as well as Exists. In terms of accolades that they have accumulated, they've won the Rosewood Award for their film Gabrielle's Dream, the Award of the Youth for at the Cannes Film Festival. They've also won the legendary, and make sure I'm getting this correct. So the Nova Legend Award at the Northern Virginia International Film and Music Film Fest. So without further ado, I love to introduce producer, director, writer Eduardo Sanchez. Let me get him on. What's going on, sir?
Hey,
How you doing, Ed?
I'm good, Brandon. How's it going with you, man?
Good, good, good. So, as I said, once again, thanks so much for joining us. First off, man, I know it's been forever. How have you been?
I've been good, man. I've been good. We had, the COVID has not personally struck my house or a lot of people around me. I mean, I have had friends that have had it, but haven't had too many deaths of people close to me. So, it's been a stressful time for everyone, but I've been been very blessed during this time also to have a little bit of work also. I know a lot of people who are out of work and having a really hard time right now. So I'm doing pretty well, man. How you been?
I've been good, man. I know we were talking a little bit off stage. Fortunate in the same regard to also be working and also just the with everything that's been going on, not just in the world in general, but in the industry. So I'm excited to have you on because I love to get your thoughts on a lot of the things that we are seeing that will more than likely change the landscape of like the entertainment industry probably like forever.
Yep.
so
Yeah, yeah.
uh, so with that being said, as I said, you are well known, as I said, the co-director of The Blair Witch. Many other films exist. However, you have put your stamp on much of TV, whether it's been with let's see, From Dusk Till Dawn, the TV series, from Supernatural, which we will get into, and even Queen of the South. So just to hit the ground running, I know with Supernatural, which recently ended. Can you talk a bit about that? Because you've in the episodes that you've had, I understand we're 5 episodes. You have had, even among all the folks that have had an opportunity to direct the series, you have had a pretty influential hand, at least in my opinion, in terms of the episodes that you were provided the opportunity to do. Even with starting first just with that first episode, the Chitters, and having the characters that you introduced, the husband hunters, in that. So can you talk a bit about that of first getting uh, inducted into that family of Supernatural?
Yeah, man. No, it was, I got the job, I got the offer, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to do a Supernatural episode, and I was super intimidated because, I hadn't been doing that much television, and this is Supernatural. I mean, I came in like in the 10th season, so obviously they had been, the train had already left the station way before I had gotten there, but they were like, really good people. They made me feel at home immediately, and the two, Jared and Jensen, the same way. Like, it really does radiate for, come from the top down. They're really good. They're good friends with each other, and you can tell. And it's like a family. And I was really, kind of brought into the family with open arms, and I'm really grateful for that too, because like again, I said, it was like this show is like a legendary show, um, and I was like, oh my God, I hope I don't screw this up. And the episode they gave me, I you have no choice in the episodes they give you, 99% of the time. And I just happened to get this kind of, monster of the week type of episode that the fans really do love, and happen to have these two, male husbands that, these two people that were in a relationship, very open, and it was very cool to have that, to have that kind of drop, on my lap. And I did the best I could. Like I really, like everything I do, I try to, work as hard as I can on it, and I try to put all my energy into it. And, luckily the episode, came out pretty nice, pretty well, pretty, it was a good episode. It's one of the top, episodes that the fans love. Because I think because of the brother, these two guys, the relationship, and I was so happy to be a part, finally be a part of the supernatural world. And then they invited me every year, back to do another, episode. And every time it was, I love going up to Vancouver. And again, it was like, meeting hey, Ed's back. And, it was like, hugs and, before COVID, obviously. But, they just welcomed me back. And I have like, some kind of lifelong friends that I've made, because of that show. There's like, I'm like working with a DP. I'm working on a film, developing a film with him. The production designer and I, Jerry, became friends, and we're developing some stuff. So it was, it's very much, it's opened up the doors to a lot of just really great relationships, and not only just professionally, but also friendships. So I'm so grateful to have been a part of that show. And this last season, I did my last show, and it was really sad, even though I had only been there for 5 years, which was, a third of the run, which was unbelievable. Most shows, are lucky to get 5 years. The last day on the set was emotional, and, it was, it was great that they let me into that world for, for those 5 years. And I'll, hopefully be working with a lot of those people, in the future.
Awesome, awesome. So with that being said, as I said, those episodes that you had an opportunity to tackle, I know each of them had their own theme. And with the first film, would you say that it was, fortunate to have that idea of, or that horror element to be a primary focus to kind of wet into that series versus perhaps some of the other episodes that you did later that were, quite different from that?
That's true, because they gave me like kind of a monster, kind of a little horror episode. And a lot, some of the people were like, oh, we're so glad, there's a horror filmmaker doing this episode, because you guys can, we think of things differently. And obviously, it's supernatural, so it's not like this hardcore kind of horror, type of show. But they do, they do go there sometimes. And I thought, my episode was pretty creepy. And again, I was just really lucky to have that material to work with.
Terrific. And I know, like, down the line, among those episodes that you had, I guess perhaps one of them, you had an opportunity to not only have some interactions between, two fan favorites with Cass and with also Rick Springfield. So can you talk a bit about, that episode that you did?
Yeah, man. I mean, it was funny because that earlier that summer, my wife loves Rick Springfield. I mean, that was like her teenage kind of, Elvis, and I always known she's a fan, and she's got the songs, and she used to watch him on General Hospital, everything, And we went to a Rick Springfield concert. It was like Rick Springfield and REO Speedwagon. I don't know. It was one of these summer festivals or whatever, and I went. We went with a bunch of friends, and he he taught, Rick Springfield came on, and my wife and them went to the front to dance and stuff, and we just hung out in the back. And he's like, near the end of the show, he's like, I'm gonna be on Supernatural this season. Watch me on Supernatural. I was like, oh, that's cool. He's on Supernatural. Maybe I might get to meet him, or whatever. See what happens. So, so I get my episode later that year, and that fall. And it happens to be the one that Rick Springfield is like, the star of. And he, I get to kill. I mean, I don't want to ruin anybody's, any spoilers, but I get to kill Rick Springfield. So, and then it was incredible because my wife and a friend came up to Vancouver to visit the set, and they got to meet him, and they had already kind of met him, in like kind of fan events, but never got a chance to like actually talk to him. And he was just the coolest guy, man. He was like a super professional, like he knew his lines, and he's like a, really professional actor, was there all the time, would, ask you the right questions. And I was really impressed by him. And, the fact that he's still in such great shape, at his age, he had a topless scene, without a shirt on. I mean, it was pretty amazing, and, and he signed this poster for me, and it was just so cool to be like, to be directing Rick Springfield. Is one of these things that like I never thought I would be doing. And again, it was such a fun thing for my wife to, to experience, to actually get to hang out with Rick Springfield and be part of that. And and it's one of my favorite. It's one of my most fun episodes. You know what I mean? There's I love the whole kind of like fake rock thing, and Lionheart. I think Lionheart was the name of his group. It was just, I had a lot of fun with that episode.
Awesome. So it looks like we do have some folks that are watching. So I want to give a shout out to Ken. Hello, Ken. Hello. It looks like there was also a question I wanted to be able to get into, and that is from Ken. On the creative side, what would you say is your favorite aspect of directing on a small screen compared to the large screen?
It's a lot less stress, like, I mean, it's still a stressful job because you got to like, shoot, you got to get everything in the can. You don't want to be over on your day. You want to shoot all your scenes. Like, there is like this process that you have to, there's work that you have to do. But for me, it's like so much less stressful because like it's when I've done films before, like I feel like the whole weight of the world, the whole creative weight of the film is on the director's shoulders. And I mean, and it switches from the writer, to director as soon as production starts. And for me, it's like really draining because like you're constantly, trying to outdo yourself and kind of second guessing yourself and doubting yourself. And so for me, it's like, it helps me to come in and be like part of a team, like be part of this collaborative team. And even though I do my films very collaboratively, like I don't shut notes out pretty much on any level, even on set. Like, I'm always into improv, and, obviously collaborating is part of the magic of film and television. You have to collaborate. I just feel like the films thing is a lot more stressful, just more decisions that I think kind of weigh more heavily on me. Like when you go into a TV show, the characters have already been set up, the casting has already been done. Like there's already so much work that has been, almost so many decisions that have already been made. So, you kind of have, you have to work with what they give you. And I find that very challenging and very satisfying to be able to quickly find the intricacies, or at least as many of the intricacies as possible between the relationships between the actors, and, what certain people need. Like actors, I think, you have to kind of, approach them in different ways depending on what kind of actor they are. Like a lot of people love notes. Some people don't, want any notes at all. And also for as far as television is concerned, it's easier because the actors have already been doing, these characters way before you got there, so there's not this kind of interpersonal character thing that you have to follow, that you as a director have to track in a feature. You know, a lot of that stuff's already kind of laid out for you. What I love most about TV is that, you know, you could do you 3 weeks. Usually it's 3 weeks. I've been stuck here in New Orleans for like a month and a half now doing these Queen of the South episodes, but that's the COVID age and we had a hurricane. So, but usually it's 3 weeks, you're in and out, and then you do like, you know, 3 or 4 days of post, you know, from my house. You know, I do notes on the episode. And you get to meet, you know, new people, you get to collaborate with new people. You're always, you know how it is, man. Every time you're on a set, especially when you're working on a set, you're going to learn new things. There's always some kind of new technique that you find, or whether it's like a positive thing, you know, or you see somebody acting a way that you're like, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing that in the future, whatever. There's always this learning process, especially if you're, you know, working with, talented people. And, I've been lucky to work with a lot of really great, talented people, you know, and so, you know, it's just fun. It's get in, you go out, get out, and you're done. The money's pretty good, and again, you kind of get to exercise that directing muscle that, you know, usually that, you know, you can't do sitting at home or at home, you know, writing. No matter how much you're writing, you know, directing actually, you know, it helps you. It kind of improves you. It makes you a better filmmaker, obviously. So yeah, I enjoy television a lot more than feature, but I'm itching to do a feature right now. Like there's a couple of things that look like they're going to happen finally. And I've been kind of like leaving the feature stuff on the side for the last 3 or 4 years, probably really like the last 5 years. But now, you know, I'm just itching to kind of learn, you know, all the stuff that I learned on the television side. I want to like, you know, I want to take advantage of that in a feature script. So that's kind of what I would love to do a feature this year. So we'll see.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. I'm gonna throw it over to another question. Hello, Elizabeth. So the question is, she's a huge. I know she's a Uber Supernatural fan, so I'm glad she was able to join us. She was asking, you know, what was your favorite episode that you directed? Because I mean, as I said, we talked about the Chitters. The Rock episode. I know the last episode that you did was last holiday. So among all of those episodes and what challenges they provided, you know, what would you say is your favorite?
I mean, you know, I enjoyed all of them. I mean, you know, when you get an episode of television, you get the script. There's like things that you know, there's tough days and there's easy days and there's days that you look forward to. So there's always kind of this stressful balance between having fun and actually, you know, knowing that you have all this, you know, that you have to make your day. But you know, every episode was kind of cool and had its ups and downs, and it was fun. I mean, Supernatural is definitely one of the funnest shows that I've done. But I think, I mean, the first, and I know we talked about it, but the first episode, The Chitters, to me was special because it was my first episode, and it was, like I said, I hadn't done a lot of television at the time, and I was really intimidated, and I learned so much that episode. And then, of course, the Rick Springfield episode was so much fun, just kind of, you know, working with Rick Springfield, like, you know, kind of a dream come true. And then the final, you know, and like I said, every episode is special to me in one way or another. In one of the episodes, I got to work with Jensen's wife, which was kind of cool. You know, you know, sometimes I got to work with Misha Collins more than other. Like this last episode, I didn't get to work with Misha at all, but we talked earlier, and you know, I visited the set a couple of weeks earlier, and we chatted a little bit. But so you know, but that final episode to me, I mean, you know, is like has the most memories because it was there's a different vibe on the set, you know what I mean? Like it was the last season, and mine was like um there's only like 5 or 6 episodes after mine. So, you know, everybody was like seeing this light at the end of the tunnel, and it was, you know, everybody was very I don't know, more supportive, there was a lot of love, you know, there was a lot of like, you know, just kind of personal contact between people. Like, you know, everybody was in a good mood. Even though a little melancholy, you know what I mean? But you know, I've
And I mean,
never
that episode was a palate cleanse, pretty much, right? Because I mean, in terms of what was to come afterwards, that
yeah,
last
yeah,
episode was very much a palate cleanse.
yeah, and that too is that like emotionally for Jared and Jensen, this was like the last episode where it was kind of they got to play, you know, and they always, those guys are always, and you don't discover it until you see it in the editing room. Like they're always giving each other looks, and adding these like different layers to the performance that you don't catch even on set. Like later on, you're like, oh, they were doing that. That's pretty crazy. And then you in your edit, you're like, oh, let's take advantage of this little look that they give each other here. They've been doing it so long, but that's it was the last kind of it was the last holiday. Like it was literally like the name of the episode was very literal. That it was the last time, like the writer told me, dude, after this episode, things start happening. Like, it's the end of the show. It's the end of the series. You're not going to end, crazy things are about to start happening. That's what end of series happening. That's what happens at the end of the series. So it was kind of cool to be part of like that last, kind of vacation, the last holiday before they went into the storm. And I wasn't part of that storm. Like I left before they got to those last few episodes, but I was in touch with some people on the set and, throughout those last few weeks and the last couple of days and stuff. So I think, that I think is, like the special moments for me. But like I said, there's every single episode, had something new, and I discovered new things about the show. And, so it was always, I was always in a good mood when going up to shoot Supernatural. That's for sure.
Cool stuff. And the question that I'm about to put up here is actually related to the next question I was going to ask you. And I guess you would say it's more in vein of Queen of the South. So Ken had a question, any desire to direct drama or maybe straight comedy, not horror related, but in the same vein, just that idea of, I know during that time of working on Supernatural, you were also doing Queen of the South. You're currently doing it now. So in doing that show, can you talk a bit about, that transition of doing something like Supernatural, which is very much in your wheelhouse of what you do oftentimes with maybe horror or fantasy versus something that is more grounded?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a tough transition. I mean, I think Queen of the South has been one of the most challenging shows because of the schedule and the fact that it was just like Dusk Till Dawn. Like it was, they always stuffed too much information, too much. That's what the audience wants, But for directors, especially when you're doing it on a budget, it's very difficult to kind of pull off, everything they want. I mean, there's always like a car chase or a gunfight or, in Dusk Till Dawn's situation, it was like, somebody, some kind of supernatural thing happening. So there was always something, and the same thing with Queen of the South, that when they stuff their episodes with action and, we were always on a limited budget. So, it's always a challenge. But to me, like, I love the pace of Queen of the South and the same thing with Dusk Till Dawn, because it was very much like an indie film pace. Like, it was like, in indie movies, you don't have any time to like mess around. Like you have to hit the ground running and continue to run the entire time, So it was not, it was, easy going from indie film into television, especially shows like Queen of the South and Dusk Till Dawn, because of their pace that I was used to. But Queen has been really special because I came in the second season and I was kind of, I kind of helped bring the show into because I think a lot of people thought that the second season was where the show really hit its kind of, the stride. Like a lot of shows, first seasons are a little rough sometimes. I don't know how much of this has been made public, but like the first season of Queen of the South, I wasn't there, but it's the stuff of legends, it's like a legendary thing. I mean, like they had I don't know what was going on, but there was a lot of like, the scripts weren't coming in on time. There was a lot of stuff where like they were just shooting stuff without any script, like literally going to the location and saying, all right, this is kind of what's supposed to happen. Let's, and the first, and when I watched the first season, I was amazed that they had made such a cool show with, this kind of run and gun attitude. A lot of stuff in the first season was completely cut out. Like they shot, a lot of extra kind of stories and characters that were ended up, on the cutting room floor. And then I came in season 2, and there was this still thing of what is this show, going to be? And I directed the 3rd episode, and it was, I did it with Daylin Rodriguez, who is now the showrunner of Queen of the South. And for some reason, her and I really gelled. She was the writer, and she's also Cuban American like I am. And we really gelled, and we made this cool episode from something that people weren't expecting much of, and we had a lot of hardships, but it was almost like being in a war together. And I think they brought me back for another episode that season, and then they would bring me back all the time. I've directed a bunch of episodes, and then so I'm very kind of emotionally attached to the crew and to the cast especially. And so and I feel like of all the shows I've done, I think I've put most of kind of my style, my kind of spin on Queen of the South, probably more than any other show, because I was involved, early on. But it's, it was, I love doing it. It's Alicia Braga, who's the star, and Hemke Madera is in it, and it's just really great actors and fun actors, and they're always coming up with cool stuff on set. And so it's it's been one of the hardest shows I've ever done, but at the same time, definitely the most rewarding show. I've killed so many people on this show. The DP and I were talking about the other day. I'm like, man, how many people have I how many people have you killed, being in the camera department and now a DP? But how many people have I personally directed dying on Queen of the South? I got to make a toll, I got to do a little tally.
Deadpool.
But it's that kind of show, you know what I mean? But it's always a challenge, and you're always running out of money, and it's just, it's a fun show to do for sure.
Awesome. And that's actually a great segue into what's going on currently. And touching on is just the current landscape right now with, all the protocols that you have to adhere to with COVID and social distancing and all that stuff. So with that being said, as someone who is, I know you like to, identify as a, an indie director. So just that idea of being able to move quickly and efficiently, do you feel that what's been happening now with a lot of the protocols that you have in place, whether it's working on a film or even working on a TV series, has kind of hampered, the style that you're normally accustomed to in terms of, moving quickly and getting through a lot of pages within a script?
Yes, I mean it's definitely a challenge. I think the biggest challenge is you're wearing the mask all day, and now they have us in these shields, these face shields. It looks like it looks like you're on the moon or something, like a bunch of astronauts walking around a lot of times on set. But this is a serious threat. You know what I mean? This is it's killing part of our business. You know what I mean? A big chunk, the theatrical business is dying right now. And I don't know when, maybe next year, maybe later next year, it'll start coming back, after vaccines. But so, not only, is it killing the distribution, but it's also hampering, on set, stuff like you were saying. But I think that, I'm doing 2 episodes of Queen of the South right now, back to back. And it's the first time I've worked, in the COVID world. And it does take some getting used to, but we shoot less hours. There's 10-hour limits. I'm not sure if everybody does that, but at least, Disney, which runs the Queen of the South, that's what their policy is right now, 10-hour days. So the schedule is a little less, it's less crazy. But for me, with this crew, because I know I've been working with the DP for many years, and I know the kind of people he hires, and I think the gaffer has been there for years. So it's they are really fast, and I'm pretty fast director also, especially in this show, because I know I kind of know what I want, and you do a couple of takes with somebody, and these actors are so great, and that's the kind of a general rule on TV, is that the actors are just so great that you literally, if you need more than 2 takes, there's either they're asking for it or something is going on that that something else is wrong. Because like if everything's right, 1 or 2 takes, you get it, and then you got to move on, just for the pace. But we've been moving pretty fast. But there is a whole protocol. The actors have to be quarantined, and when the actors take their masks off, you have to be a certain distance from them, and you have to minimize obviously the people around the actors. I mean, the actors really is the main people that you're protecting. But so far, we've been doing all right. We had a little bit of a scare, a little bit of a bump, over the Thanksgiving holiday, like a lot of other productions. But now we're finishing up. I got 4 more days to finish. But it is definitely, a challenge. And also now, like, even developing, because we're developing a show with Apple, and the idea of COVID comes into the conversation of like, okay, what shows are we developing now? Like, are they shows where does the COVID exist in these shows? Like, do people want to see the COVID in shows? Like there was a movie, the trailer came out a couple of weeks ago about like it's COVID 42 or something. I don't know what it's called, but it's like COVID like 5 years from now. It's like, I mean, it looks like a great, thriller film, but I'm like, I don't want to see this. Like, why do I want to see, what I mean? Like, I do not want to see anything about the future of COVID other than like, okay, we're over this, because we've already been into it too long, like,
Right.
and I don't know, maybe that movie comes out and does a lot of money, but it seems like, the general consensus is like, people want, they watch television and movies for escapism. So, and not that, you want to, everything has to be sugar coated, but I think that does COVID exist in these stories, and how much does it exist? Because you can't have your actors in masks all the time. I mean, if you're Christopher Nolan, you can do that, but most mortal filmmakers can't have their characters in masks all the time, just reading their eyes. So what do we do? What do you write? Do you write that there is COVID, but it's, a little bit more in the future and things are better? I mean, what is the reality of it? So, and then obviously the theatrical aspect of what's happening with COVID is, a whole different discussion. But this is it's a worldwide pandemic, and it's not only it's affecting not only affecting our business industry, it's affecting, pretty much all the businesses. So, we just have to be careful. Like every day on the set, our AD tells us, let's just be careful, even when we're not on set, because, we want to keep working, and, if we want to keep making some money and we want to keep working, and, we have to take care of ourselves, and it might, you can't go, so it's like the most, kind of uneventful shooting I've ever, like there's no getting together with people on the weekends, there's no, hey, what are you doing this weekend? Let's, hook up, or let's go see a movie. There's none of that. It's just basically like, all right, I'll see you Monday, like there's very little, there's no social contact, because it's so dangerous for our business and, and health wise, obviously. But, I mean, it's just, you got to roll with the punches, and, I'm lucky to be working, and, hopefully we can keep this together. But a lot of shows are shutting down, man. It's, it's as the numbers, spike, a lot of shows are kind of just slowing down. I was going to direct a show in January that got pushed into February, like because of COVID, because of the spike. So, everybody's kind of, taking it easy right now, and just figuring out how to, work through it. And then, when it's going to get back to normal. But I think it's going to be a few years before like the movie business is back to like, somebody sitting next to you, in a crowded movie theater. I mean, I can't imagine that right now,
Yeah, definitely. And, that's, again, a great segue just into the idea, just to close off with, the slate onwards of what's happening. I know you were talking about Queen South now. I know the writers, creators of Supernatural, just touching on that a little bit. I know a lot of people have been clamoring are you guys going to do a movie, or are you going to do a full-length feature to revisit that universe? And I know they said no, we need to take a break. But say hypothetically, if they said, hey Ed, we were thinking about doing a film, would that be something that you would possibly do?
I mean, dude, in a second. Yeah, man. I mean, like right now, I know Jared is doing like Walker, and I already, we already talked on the set. I'm like, dude, man, you need any directors, call me up. And they're shooting it in Austin, which I love. I haven't shot anything in Austin in a while. I love Austin, so I would love to keep working with these guys. Like not only the cast, but also the a lot of the crew members. But yeah, I mean, my dream would be to have Jensen or Jared in a show or in one of the movies. And there are I've been. I mean, it's kind of a weird thing because you want to work with people, but you don't want to be like, hey man, read my script. I want you to
Right,
you know what I'm saying? Like
right,
you don't want to be like you're riding their coattails. So there's like kind of
right.
it's the same thing I kind of went through with Millie Bobby Brown. I worked with her before Stranger Things, and we I love her, and she's a great kid. Well, she's almost a woman now, but her parents, we got to meet her parents. But so there's this level of like, okay, we're friends, and now she's this huge star. Like, am I gonna go, hey Millie, work with me, come on, remember me? I'm saying? Like you have to have the right balance. So it's about finding the right material and maybe coming together and saying, hey man, I think you'd be great for this role, but I would love to have one of those guys. But and actually do one of my films or one of my TV shows, and to direct a supernatural movie, I think that would be great. And they're gonna do that, or like what we were talking about a lot on the that last week when we were shooting, is the idea that, like, I mean, Jared and Jensen are both pretty young guys. Like you could do 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whenever, you could say, all right, we're going to go back and see if we can kind of figure out how to get do a reunion, or do what X-Files did, do like one season, like a short season, and see how it goes, and see if the juices are still flowing and it's still good. I mean, obviously they're going to have the fans forever. So, yeah, man, it's this kind of the sky's the limit with that franchise. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I was going to say, I'll be remiss also to not bring up Star Wars. You are, I know, anyone who knows you knows that you are an uber Star Wars fan. The basement that you have is a huge testament to your fandom of Star Wars. So I'll be remiss not to bring up Mandalorian or any other possible project. I'm sure that is on your radar, is something that you are trying to get into.
Yeah, no, man. I mean, I was everybody. A lot of people have been contacting me because Robert Rodriguez directed the last episode. I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting. I'm waiting to get home, and my it's like one of the only shows that my family watches together. So we kind of wait until I get home. So I'll catch up next week. But everybody's like, hey, your boy, Robert Rodriguez, whatever. And Robert Rodriguez is like one of the few like A-list filmmakers that I actually have contact with. Like I have his number. So it got me this much closer to Mandalorian. But I would love to do obviously Mandalorian, and actually I just did a show for Lucasfilm called Our Star Wars Story, which is either on Disney XD or Disney Plus, but it's basically like they highlight like a collector or somebody that has not only collecting, but somebody that's kind of Star Wars has touched in a special way. So I I did an interview, and I videotaped my basement and talk about Blair Witch and all my how Star Wars affected me as made me a more confident child, and being an immigrant, not knowing the language, but like it gave me like this thing to kind of grasp onto that I could share with everybody around me. And so that's about. I mean, they're finishing up the edit right now. I'm not sure when it's airing, but I mean, I was there's actually people that I know at the production group at Lucasfilm, and they were like, "Man, you gotta we're trying to get you on Mandalorian," and so I'm like, "Oh my god, if I could." I mean, even just to visit the set would be like great, you know what I mean? But I mean, obviously to direct one would be a dream come true. But I mean, I'm just hoping that there's enough, maybe hopefully Obi-Wan will be, successful. And, I couldn't imagine how it wouldn't be, but they get to more TV shows, some more Star Wars TV shows, and somehow in the next few years I can squeeze in there and direct an episode. And obviously, the overall life goal would be to, like, for my partner Greg Hale and me, like, we're both filmmakers because of Star Wars, because of George Lucas. So, like, we're always talking about, like, it would be, do a Star Wars TV show, like, or our own. I mean, that would be an amazing thing. But we're still a few years and maybe a hit TV show away from doing that. But that really would be cool. Just to do anything in that world would be awesome. But yeah, I mean, I love Mandalorian, and I think that the reason it's successful, or like kind of so refreshing, is that it doesn't have the baggage of the films. You know what I mean? Like, I think all the films, like, tie directly into the trilogy, to the Skywalker saga. And I think people have so many memories of, whether it's like the original movies or the prequels, or, there's so much emotional baggage tied to those movies that it's really hard to kind of come out with something that everybody's going to accept, And the great thing that Mandalorian did, and the smart thing, is that, it just, here's the Skywalker saga. I just took a little corner of it, and we're going to just go down this thread. So, it's just refreshing not to have, all the baggage of Darth Vader, and they have Jedis in it, but it's not a story about Jedi, about the Jedi. It's not about the Luke Skywalker.
Not about Skywalkers.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's kind of like it is like, it's just exactly what people needed, and I think it's I'm glad they did it, they developed it.
Awesome. Well, I think that is a great place to cut it off. And thank you so much for, squeezing out some time, man, to talk about, like I said, the end of Supernatural, Queen of the South, and even, some of the things that are going on right now, in the industry. Before I let you go, can you tell folks where they can find you?
I'm on Facebook, probably Hacks and Films is the site of my company. And, that's what I kind of do, all my kind of film and TV stuff. And then on Twitter, I mean, I do Twitter a little bit, but my handle is Sanchez on the mic. So you can follow me there, whatever. But, I'm around, hoping to be doing this for a few more years. Thanks for having me, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Brandon.
Of course. So again, Ed, thank you so much. I'm your host, Brandon Choi, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. You can find us on Facebook, of course, which you are live streaming now. However, we do encore episodes on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram at Movers Shakers Unlimited, on Twitter at Move and Shake UNLTD, and of course, you can find me, Brandon Choi ENT, on Twitter, and Brandon Choi _ENT on Instagram. Again, thanks so much for watching. For those of you who are watching now, be safe out there, of course, and see you soon.
See ya.